After leaving behind a high-pressure life in New York, Mae Whitaker returns to her quiet hometown of Hawthorne Ridge to run her late parents' old bookstore. Emotionally guarded and seeking solitude, Mae crosses paths with Elias Ward, a quiet, steady carpenter known for fixing more than just what's broken. As Elias begins helping around the store, an unspoken connection forms between them, deepening through shared silences and subtle moments. Both carry grief and loneliness, but their slow, gentle bond becomes a quiet refuge. Over time, through soft glances, vulnerable conversations, and simple presence, Mae and Elias find healing in each other. The story ends not with a dramatic confession, but with a tender touch, symbolizing the beginning of something real, slow, and lasting. This is a story you will want to sit back and enjoy. Before we start, I would like you to subscribe, like, and comment on this video from where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Let us begin. It was the kind of town you could pass through without noticing, just a blip on the map where the hills turned gold in autumn and the air always smelled like pine and distant rain. Hawthorne Ridge. Mae Whitaker had returned for silence. After 12 years of noise, clients, deadlines, endless elevators in glass towers, she came home to the sleepy town she'd run from. Her parents' old bookstore, the Lantern's End, still stood on the corner of Maple and Fifth. Dustier now, the bell over, the door a little more tired. But it was hers again, inherited after they passed, along with the memories she wasn't ready to hold. She met him the day she tried to fix the leaky pipe in the back room. "You're going to flood the whole place," came a voice from behind her. She turned, soaked to the elbows, wrench in hand, and found a man leaning against the doorway. Tall, quietly built, dark hair. The kind of man who didn't need to speak loudly to be noticed. "I'm doing fine," she replied, teeth gritted. He arched a brow. "You're holding the wrench upside down." "I was doing fine." He stepped forward. "Can I?" She didn't answer, but she handed him the wrench. His name was Elias Ward, the local carpenter, fixer of everything, and according to the woman at the cafe, a man with hands worth trusting and eyes that keep their own secrets. Mae didn't ask questions, and Elias didn't offer answers. He started showing up more often. At first it was the pipe, then it was the squeaky floorboard in aisle 3, then a broken heater. Mae told herself it was coincidence, that he just liked fixing things. But then he started fixing things that weren't broken, like the doorbell chime that he said sounded tired, or the crooked picture frame he claimed was leaning toward sadness. Each time he stayed a little longer, drank coffee with her while it rained, sat with her in silence, never pushing, never asking why she always looked like she was carrying. Too many yesterdays. It was week 6 when she caught herself waiting for him. The bookstore had become warm again, alive in a way it hadn't been since she was a girl. Customers trickled in. She found herself organizing the poetry section like her mother used to. She smiled more, still quiet, still guarded, but lighter. Elias would come in, fix something unnecessary, and sit across from her with his calloused hands around a mug of coffee. They rarely spoke of the past. They didn't need to. He told her once about his late brother, in the hush of a snowfall, when the shop had lost power and candles lit the fiction aisle. How he'd stayed in Hawthorne Ridge because grief doesn't always leave you capable of big cities. And she told him, in return, about New York, about how success didn't feel like anything when no one was waiting at home to hear about it. They didn't touch, not once, but the space between them grew smaller with every shared silence. One night in December, she found him outside, repairing the bookstore sign even though no one had asked. "You never stop," she teased, arms crossed. Against the cold, he looked down, snowflakes catching in his dark lashes. "Neither do you," She stepped closer. The street was empty. The windows behind them glowed amber with firelight. "Why do you keep coming here, Elias?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "Because this place feels like something I lost. And when you're here, it feels like something I could still find." She swallowed. The wind picked up, but neither moved. Her voice cracked. "I don't know how to do this slowly." "I do," he replied, "and I've got time." They didn't kiss that night or the one after, but he came the next day and the next, fixed nothing, sat with her while the snow fell outside, and one morning in early spring, when the hills began to turn green again and the bookstore smelled like new beginnings, she reached for his hand beneath the table. No words, just fingers brushing, tentative and quiet, like love that had been waiting patiently all along. Epilogue. The bookstore no longer smelled like dust and memories. Now it smelled of fresh coffee, old paper, and blooming wildflowers. Elias started bringing in small bouquets every Sunday morning, claiming they looked like stories waiting to be told. Mae never asked where he picked them. She just smiled and placed them in a glass jar behind the register. Life had changed, but slowly, just the way they had. They still hadn't left Hawthorne Ridge. Neither had plans to. The city felt like another life entirely, one they occasionally referenced in the quiet way people mention a dream they're glad they woke from. The bookstore thrived in its small way. Children came in for story hour. Locals stopped by not just for books, but for conversation. Elias built new shelves, a handmade reading nook in the back, and once, on a particularly sentimental afternoon, a carved wooden sign above the doorway that read, "Where the quiet lives." Mae cried when she saw it. He didn't say anything, just kissed her hand the way he always did when words felt too big. They still sat in silence more often than they spoke, but their silences were different now. Comfortable, complete. She read to him sometimes in the evenings, her head against his shoulder. He listened like every word mattered. Grief still visited them from time to time, but it didn't live there anymore. Love did, not the loud, breathless kind, but the steady, anchoring kind, the kind you build like a house, with hands that know how to stay, with days that feel like chapters, and a heart that understands some stories are meant to unfold slowly, beautifully, and forever.